all I'm gonna say is, tell me, I'm looking you dead in the eye. You know how to fly. You know how to fly. Dude, you need brakes. You need some speed. Yo, fucking hands. I know how to fly, dude. All right. Rob Schamberger, you know how to fly. Fucking fly. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Another one of them, popping at the mouth or the side of his neck when he pouts. No argument, no rebuttal from. He ain't from my town, I don't know him, so I'm guessing he's a clown.
Both Matt Riddle and Dave Meltzer are in the news. They're in the news together, but only because of how Meltzer chose to write about Matt Riddle in his newsletter, which pissed off a lot of his readers. We want to talk about that, but we're also going to talk about Matt Riddle and his behavior at the airport, as the TMZ story is now out. So we're going to do a very rare double header here. And it's going to tie together. I promise. It's going to tie together. Let's start with the story. Matt Riddle in the airport. The video is now out. Matt Riddle was yelling into the microphone. Apparently his flight got delayed. He went to the hotel airport, got drunk, and then decided he was going to have a little fun at the expense of all of the other patrons of the airport. So here it goes from September the 30th, 2023. Ex-WWE superstar Matt Riddle seemingly had a few too many drinks during a plane delay earlier this month, grabbing a microphone and shouting at fellow passengers, and TMZ Sports has the video. The incident went down at JFK Airport on September the 9th, the same day the two-time Raw Tag Team Champion accused a Port Authority officer of sexual assault, which led to an investigation. Our video shows went down prior to the allegations. A witness tells us the flight to Orlando was postponed multiple times, so Riddle and his friend waited it out by enjoying drinks at a nearby restaurant. The witness says Riddle was becoming incredibly obnoxious throughout the day, being, quote, extremely loud and rude. Once it was almost time to board, the witness noticed Riddle walking around yelling and asking when the plane would take off before going up to the gate's front desk and grabbing the mic. In the video, Riddle, who's holding a drink, is heard asking fellow passengers if they're capable of flying the plane. It's all in a playful manner, but staffers were quick to put an end to it. The passengers eventually got on the plane, except Riddle, who was denied entry due to his state. Our witness tells us he grew upset, asking, "So what are you telling me I'm not going home today?" As we previously reported, cops responded to a, quote, disorderly person, aka Riddle, but when they met him at the terminal, he apologized for his behavior. Cops did not file a police report, and Riddle was free to go. Of course, Riddle then went on Instagram to accuse an officer of sexual assault and harassment, but the post was later deleted. The investigation into his claims remains ongoing. Riddle, who has faced multiple issues outside the ring during his career, announced his departure from WWE on September 22nd. Now, they said multiple issues outside the ring. That kind of stuff is what got people very mad at Dave Meltzer. But let's talk about this story before we get into the Dave Meltzer portion of this thing. He was more drunk and belligerent than most people thought that he would be. This was absolutely uncalled for. It's absolutely uncalled for. Now, making a fool out of yourself in public is not something that is intolerable in wrestling. We've seen people get away with this kind of stuff before. But when it's Matt Riddle, and he's been in trouble so many times for so many different reasons, it's very hard to give them the benefit of the doubt. I mean, yes, people get frustrated, they get a little drunk, they go out there and they say things that they shouldn't say, they do things that they shouldn't do. But when it's Riddle and he's already on thin ice, I can see how this was it, you know. Now, WWE, did they know that Matt Riddle was drunk in the airport acting this way? Probably not. I doubt they had the scoop on his behavior in the airport. But I'm pretty sure they got an idea that something was going wrong, and that something was very wrong once Matt Riddle accused one of the police officers of sexual assault. That's so over the top that I'm pretty sure they were like, you know what? Let's just get done with this thing. Let's just kind of call it a day. So Matt Riddle is a mess. Everybody knows this. Everybody knows that Matt Riddle has been a disaster for maybe a year and a half, maybe more, depending on whether you want to count the UFC stuff or not. If that's the case, then maybe a decade. But what Dave Meltzer wrote in his newsletter, I'm going to read the entire quote because most people are just looking at a cherry-picked portion of his quote. I want to read the entire piece. Not the entire article, but just the entire portion in which Matt Riddle's name is mentioned. And see if we can make sense out of this before we get into people being very, very, very upset about it. So, Meltzer wrote, and I quote, "We've heard people say AEW doesn't need new talent that can't be top guys. Basically with the idea, since they weren't top guys in WWE, that AEW can't use them. But it should be noted, Riddle's role in his last few months with the company and Jon Moxley's role, where he always lost, in his last few months were identical. Although Riddle certainly has the baggage that Moxley didn't have, but Moxley went from the same position to being one of AEW's big three stars with Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega during the most successful launch of the company. There is also the question of whether Edge, a bigger name than all of them, might be interested in going, since his contract expires this week with WWE. He would have the most short-term value, although at his age, that would have to be thought of as a short-term. The fact Tony Khan feels Christian is so valuable right now, at the same age, and that AEW and Edge were negotiating a deal 3+ years ago when WWE came back with a better deal, would indicate it on this one that the ball is in Edge's court. So, a lot of people were very upset that Dave Meltzer mentioned that Riddle's role is the same as Jon Moxley's role. Well, Jon Moxley, the guy they were burying because he was leaving, versus Riddle, who was basically just positioned as a guy who was just going to lose a lot because they really didn't have any vision for him beyond a certain point. That these things are the same thing, that it is not the case. But it didn't stop there, of course. There was actually more. And this is what really upset so many people. Riddle would be a no-brainer, except for the baggage and bad publicity. Before he went to WWE, he was among the top wrestlers on the independent scene, and every promotion of any size had major interest in him. So he mentioned baggage without going into any details about what the baggage was. And then all the people, they got woke and they got angry. They got very, very angry. So let's go through some people who are pretty upset with Dave Meltzer right now because of what he wrote about Matt Riddle. This is from a female wrestler. Rotten luck for a young up-and-coming 37-year-old to have multiple abuse allegations potentially ruin his opportunity to fuck up at a major company because he's a dumpster fire of a human being. At least Dave is fighting the good fight. Matt Kuhn, who used to do the podcast with Dax Harwood, says Dave Meltzer has been a fan and proponent of Matt Riddle for a very long time, which explains a thing regarding his slanted, biased, and irresponsible coverage. Likely a friendship there too. Get your news somewhere else, folks. So he's got screenshots of Meltzer talking about how Matt Riddle has picked up the business quicker than as quick as Kurt Angle and all this kind of stuff. It is entertaining at the least, but it's all very old stuff from 5 years ago or whatever. Another one. All I can say is anytime you have too many talented people to push, you got to take a chance on a 37-year-old facing multiple allegations of abuse whose private life appears to be an embarrassing and constant semi-public dumpster fire. Interesting. The whole thing about the abuse allegations is they are allegations. It is not a factual statement. But that doesn't mean that Riddle hasn't said done and said really stupid things, by the way. Here's one from a guy who works at bodyslam.net. He's the lead writer. He's European, so that should tell you exactly what's going on with this guy. Dave compares Matt Riddle to Jon Moxley in the Wrestling Observer newsletter and says if Mox can be top 3 in AEW, so can Riddle. There is so much wrong with that statement, and I ask, how can someone see the pair and not realize the difference? Why is Riddle such a missed opportunity to this man? I don't know. Look, I'm not going to defend Matt Riddle. About the sexual assault allegations, because if you actually read the allegations, you would probably say that. For those of you who have not read the allegations, Candy Cartwright claimed that Matt Riddle sexually assaulted her in a car, in a van, with other people in the van, and none of those people saw it, even the driver, because Matt Riddle wasn't driving the car. He was in the back seat. To be a little bit more explicit, I think she claimed that he forced her to give him head in the back seat of the van. And again, the driver did not see this. The driver was not, I don't think the driver was even talked to about this. One of the people who was supposedly in the van was Keith Lee. Yes, that Keith Lee, big giant Keith Lee. And nobody knows what happened, but everybody's very sure they know what happened. It's like, look, we don't live in a world of cartoon supervillains. Even if we did, usually even in cartoons, there's certain levels of things that supervillains don't do. All right? You could think that Matt Riddle is one of the biggest scumbags in the history of planet Earth, and I won't disagree with you. He said some really scumbag stuff, and we'll get into some of it in a minute. But just because you said that this happened doesn't mean that it happened. Oh, well, he bangs porn stars, and then he doesn't call them back, or he breaks their heart. He cheats on his wife. It's like, if every guy who ever cheated on his wife is a scumbag, then there's a lot of scumbags out here. And I'll agree, you're lying to, disrespecting your family. Yeah, very scumbag behavior. That doesn't make the rape allegations true, however, And Matt Riddle is a loudmouth, and he does have problems. He has a lot of issues, substance abuse issues, ego issues, has a lot of stuff going on. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he's a rapist. But okay, let's get back to this thing. Meltzer has blinders on when it comes to Matt Riddle. Same blinders people had on when he was an indie darling. The sexual assault allegations, Riddle accusing airport police of sexual assault to hide the fact that he was heavily intoxicated. It's a speed bump to Dave, not a sinkhole. This is one of the guys who does a WCW Twitter account or something like that. He got pronouns in his bio. If I knew nothing about Matt Riddle before I read The Observer today, I think he was a quirky, misunderstood pothead with a heart of gold who's been misused by the corporate machine and had really bad luck at love. Oh my God. Look at how dramatic these people are. They're being very dramatic. Matt Coon, because he couldn't stop tweeting about this. There is no doubt that Meltzer is aware of Matt Riddle's issues and past. He is not only downplaying them and trying to position Riddle for future employment, but dismissing them altogether without examining them. Likely another case of preferential coverage due to friendship, which is probably true, which is probably true. Look, Meltzer is known for that. Meltzer is known for that, and so many other people are known for that. This is a pro wrestling interviewer, so feminist. She says, she puts in quotes, complaints from women about relationships had fallen apart, because that's what Meltzer wrote in a different part of the article. Makes it sound like serious abuse allegations and more like exes just shit talking him. Then it says he had numerous incidents over the years of complaints from women after relationships had fallen apart. Had a very public lawsuit by one, which is the Candy Cartwright lawsuit. We don't know whether those things are true because nobody tried to get him arrested. Most of the stuff that, abuse is a very loose term because now it doesn't even mean physical violence anymore. Now it means that you were maybe inconsiderate. That's what abuse is now. Oh, you banged this girl and then you didn't want to be with her anymore. Oh, that's abusive. You know, if you actually physically hit her, that's abuse. Now it's, you were emotionally abusive, financially abusive. We just stretched the concept so far that, it's very nebulous what it might have actually occurred. But I covered it in the channel. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to create a Matt Riddle playlist now because there's so much stuff out here. So here's a guy who comes back. He said, Matt Riddle called Candy Cartwright a stalker before later admitting to an affair, but not admitting to rape. He also likely got Drake Wuertz to get her fired from the WWE Evolve deal, which is true. He did call her a stalker because she continued contacting him after he didn't want to be with her anymore. So the lawsuit, because I don't want to relitigate this thing, but this is what occurred. I had to go do a little bit of a refresher. This is from PW Insider. Samantha Tavel, aka Candy Cartwright, announced during a Chicago press conference on October the 18th. I think this is supposed to be 2022, but it's a typo, so it says 2029, which is well in the future. That she was filing a lawsuit against WWE, SmackDown star Riddle, World Wrestling Entertainment, the now defunct Evolve promotion, and Gabe Sapolsky. With the exception of Riddle, the court had agreed with the other defendants that there was no bearing for them to be a part of the case. So WWE, Evolve, and Gabe Sapolsky were all released from this lawsuit. The lawsuit, which sought $10 million from each of the defendants, stemmed from Cartwright's allegations that Riddle allegedly choked and forced her to perform oral sex on her, I guess it meant him, in May 2018. According to the Chicago Sun-Times article, Tavel was allegedly approached by Riddle, who she was in a relationship with, but said she was not comfortable having sex on the bus because of the other wrestlers being present. John Schwarzenski, Tavel's attorney, stated during the press conference that the alleged incident was among, quote, a multitude of sexual assaults committed by Matt Riddle against my client, Candy Cartwright, end quote. The lawsuit alleged Tavel was assaulted multiple times between 2017 and January 2020 by Riddle. Then, of course, they go into the details that WWE did not have Riddle under contract at the time. And then in December 2020, Matt Riddle filed his own motion to dismiss the lawsuit. In that filing, Riddle stated he and Tavel entered, quote, an extramarital affair beginning in April 2017 after a meeting while performing at an Evolve show in New York City. They continued to maintain that relationship until Riddle's wife learned of it, at which point Riddle claims he ended his relationship with Tavel. In his filing, Riddle alleges, quote, Miss Tavel had a hard time accepting the end of the relationship, and Mr. Riddle changed his telephone number more than once to avoid her calls. Mr. Riddle had no control over any employment relationship Miss Tavel had with Evolve or WWE, end quote. Tavel remained working for Evolve in some fashion until the promotion shut down in the wake of the financial losses due to the COVID-19 pandemic, leading to the cancellation of their Tampa, Florida events WrestleMania 36 weekend. WWE purchased the assets of Evolve, including its tape library. In regard to Tavel's accusation, Riddle's December 2020 filing denied any wrongdoing on his part, stating, quote, Mr. Riddle emphatically denies Miss Tavel's torrid tale. He and Miss Tavel had a nearly 3-year affair during which they engaged only in consensual sexual activity. In July 2019, Mr. Riddle ended the affair after his wife learned of the relationship. In June 2020, Miss Tavel tweeted an accusation that he sexually assaulted her in a van while the other wrestlers were asleep, end quote. Now, I'm not going to read this entire thing, but that's essentially the story. The lawsuit was dropped on July 13th, 2021. So nothing came of it. Was there a settlement? It doesn't say that there was a settlement. But PW Insider does a really good job of going through this thing. Ultimately, it sounds just like what Dave Meltzer said it was. That he had a 3-year relationship with this girl. Then when it broke up, all of a sudden it became rape. I mean, it doesn't sound to me like, Dave Meltzer is he downplaying it? Sure. You could say he's downplaying it, but I think it's pretty accurate because that's exactly what it sounds like. Who is raped multiple times over the course of 3 years and you keep coming back to your rapist? I mean, that's literally, you are supposed to be brain dead. Like, I can even believe that it may have happened one time. But you keep coming back to your alleged rapist? Come on, man. Get the hell out of here. That stuff should be... I know, it's the woke world. The rules, common sense don't apply. Believe all women. Believe all women. Look, no. If you went back after you got raped, I'm sorry. You liked it. And it's that simple. It was consensual at that point. If you keep coming back, it's got to be consensual at some point, right? So, whatever. Let's continue, because we got a lot of more people being upset. Now, the whole thing about the Evolve deal, Matt Riddle does not have any control over whether she was booked for Evolve or not. But as a sort of star for the promotion, I can see that he might have had some leverage. So I do actually find that there might be a little bit of credence there between Candy Cartwright losing an opportunity in NXT and her relationship with Matt Riddle. If he doesn't want to be around her and the company has to make a decision and he is going to be somebody that they might sign in the future versus she's kind of on the fence, I can see them making the decision. We're going to go with Matt. We're going to cut her loose. I mean, and besides, if the company is listening to Matt and Matt's saying she's a crazy girl who just, won't get over the fact that we're not dating anymore, then I can see them believing that. But I also see that she probably wasn't going to be able to prove it. So that's why they got rid of it. All right, let's get back to people being mad at Dave Meltzer. Hey, Dave Meltzer, I've been a subscriber for a decade and a half, but I'm going to unsubscribe unless you stop doing PR for Matt Riddle. Not sure why you feel the need to do this after the numerous allegations, his settlement, and public lies and false allegations. Shameful. What settlement? Anyway. Quote, most pro wrestling companies of any size immediately expressed interest. This is what Dave Meltzer wrote about Matt Riddle. So did Dave ask every promotion of any size on the planet if they had expressed interest in Riddle, or is Matt Riddle telling him this? Crazy when Meltzer is usually that vague about anything, people just go with it, multiple people backstage are upset because Vince changed the script. Oh, we don't ever ask the question whether Dave Meltzer actually talked to multiple people backstage. It's always just, oh, he said it, therefore it must be true. But in this instant, oh, did he actually do this? It's like, you guys are starting to ask real questions now. Okay, I'm not going to be mad at that. Not gonna be mad at that. All right, here's the bodyslam.net guy again. Matt Riddle, multiple accusations of abuse, sexual assault, came home from a major international event so drunk that he caused an embarrassing incident at JFK Airport, falsely accused a cop of sexual assault. Dave, Tony should definitely look into bringing this guy in. Wow. Matt Coon been tweeting about this thing for a week, because this is from 4 days ago, and I didn't know it. Quote, there's a lot of people with bad feelings in management about CM Punk in WWE, but there's nobody in management with a bad feeling about Matt Riddle. Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio. I didn't make this one up. Dude actually said this fictional shit. Well, somebody in management got a bad feeling about Matt Riddle because they fired him. So I can tell you this. Somebody had a bad feeling. It was a bad enough feeling that they got rid of him. Here's another one. The majority of Matt Riddle's potential was him mind-fucking fans, reporters, and promoters on the indies. A hype train running on pretending to be a nice, quirky stoner at the merch table, despite it being an open secret what he was really like. So this goes back to another wrestling journalist who wrote, when Dave Meltzer watches Matt Riddle and sees how his career has gone, he thinks wasted potential. But unlike the rest of us who know Matt Riddle is to blame, he thinks that someone could turn it around with him and turn it into realized potential. You can't. You never could. And this is a quote from Matt Riddle, and this is why, despite the fact that I may express doubt that he's an actual rapist, I don't think that Matt Riddle is a nice guy. Matt Riddle really did say this, quote, I've been smoking weed since I was 13, and look at me. I'm in the UFC and I smash people with a smile on my face. It's not a performance-enhancing drug. It helps me relax. It makes me happy. Honestly, it keeps me from beating my 3 kids because they're always screaming and crying at me. He said that smoking weed prevents him from beating his kids. Now, this is something that Of course, when Dana White was very upset with him. It's crazy that these woke idiots are on the side of Dana White, who they hate, who is like MMA Hitler, right? They when Dana White went on an absolute streak and was pissed off at Matt Riddle, they thought, okay, at least he's right about this one. Very weird. So we haven't even gotten to your boy Bixenspan yet, and we're going to get there, I promise. Oh boy, here we go. Nasty PR campaign by Meltzer for Riddle. WWE badly wanted Riddle to be a top superstar. They gave him multiple chances despite habitually fucking up. Now you're pushing that he just needed a new environment to thrive in. He needs to get his mind right, not a main event push. Interesting. Very interesting. I don't know if WWE really thought that Matt Riddle was going to be like this big superstar. I think they just wanted to give him the maximum amount of opportunities possible. And then they're following the audience reaction, which is what you guys wanted. People were really into Matt Riddle. I mean, it is what it is. He got over. And so the company started using him. They felt like he was a quirky, fun character. The quirky, fun stoner gimmick they felt was very close to who Matt Riddle really is. And it was easy for him to play. And it was very attractive to children. So he got over. And then so they just played into it. But I didn't see them. I think the one time he won a championship, which was besides the RK Bro stuff, the United States title, it was a mistake because it was supposed to have been Keith Lee, right? And it ended up that Keith Lee was about to have a heart attack. Well, he had like heart problems. I'm not going to make a joke about it. He had COVID and heart issues or whatever, and he couldn't wrestle. So they gave the title to Riddle. And then he lost it shortly thereafter. He wasn't champion very long because he was never supposed to be the champion in the first place. Doesn't really speak to that they really wanted something out of Riddle. They saw him as a happy-go-lucky mid-card act who occasionally wrestles main event guys, but they didn't really see him as being like the world champion because he was never really all that competitive against guys who were world champions. Here's another one. Pretty shameful stuff by Dave regarding Matt Riddle. Meltzer is the industry leader, and AEW was formed by a 25-year reader of his. How irresponsible of him to compare Riddle's position to how Moxley became a star in AEW. This would be considered sports washing if anyone gave a fuck. It's amazing that they just come up with stuff. Sports washing. This is something that's literally been created within the last 10 years. Nobody has any earthly idea what it really means. It literally just comes out of nowhere. Meltzer is not equipped to handle covering any story that demands a knowledge or sensitivity of real-world issues outside of wrestling. I mean, like, none of the wrestling journalists are, but it's an extra problem with him because he's the main one. I can agree that he has an almost autistic level of fixation on wrestling, but I think he handled the issue pretty fairly. It's an accusation, which it is. Most people look at it and probably don't think it has any grounding to it, especially considering it didn't come out until the relationship was over. I mean, you were in a relationship with this guy for 3 years. You claim you were raped multiple times in those 3 years, but it wasn't until it was over that all of a sudden, oh my goodness, it was abuse. It was rape. It was all this. It's like nobody ever talks about this stuff as it's ongoing. It's almost always as your relationship is over. Then all of a sudden, oh, you're right. You raped me multiple times, actually. Let me go tell everybody and not the police. Yeah, I bet. Let's get to Bixenspan because he tweets a lot about Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle is one of his picadillos. I've been talking about this for several years. He has a bug up his ass about Matt Riddle. So he says, I'm not going to read everything he tweets about Matt Riddle. I'm just going to find some pointed things that he tweeted about. Dumb question. He just put a question mark. Is it me, or does it feel like there are a bunch of people who simultaneously think that Matt Riddle has zero credibility when it comes to accusing that cop of sexually assaulting him, but also still don't believe the sexual assault and other abuse allegations against him? Well, because those are two separate things. All right. I can think that somebody is lying about one thing while also telling the truth about another thing. And just because somebody sucks doesn't mean that everything that happened in the world is their fault. All right. I am capable of analyzing two separate incidences two separate ways. Do I believe that a police officer in front of a bunch of people sexually assaulted Matt Riddle? No, I do not. For the same reason that I don't believe that Candy Cartwright was sexually assaulted in front of a bunch of people on a van. For the exact same reason. You think to tell me that they just did this crime in front of all of these people and nobody said anything? Okay. This is also a big span. The way people project their BS onto me is a lot. If you think that I'm relishing the chance to kvetch about Meltzer, not just horrified by the dean of wrestling reporters whose work is deemed to the historical record defaulting to bitches be crazy, that speaks to you, not me. Like, Jesus fucking Christ. It's not a secret that I spent a lot of time trying to report out the Matt Riddle stuff when literally nobody else was trying. Way beyond what I've been able to publish for various different reasons. While this is incredibly frustrating, it's not difficult to parse. Yeah, whatever. I'm pretty sure PW Insider did just as good a job as you did. They just did not obsess about Matt Riddle like you did. Like, this guy obsessed about this guy, trying to look for any shred of anything that could possibly be true. And it's okay for you to do that, but you can't be upset that other people was looking for stuff that might be more substantial. You were up here trying to argue that his lawyer had used a napkin or something like that to write a report. Nobody cares, bro. Who gives a shit? You know, we're looking at this guy was accused of rape. I don't care if his attorney is a numbskull. That doesn't mean that he's a rapist. The dancing around the elephants in the room in the Observer cover story about Matt Riddle is truly something to behold. This is Bixen Span here. The Observer cover story is basically Dave Meltzer doing the Stephen A. Smith butt meme and applying it to Matt Riddle, while somehow also dancing around what everything before the butt actually is. Oh boy. This guy this guy is something else, man. He's obsessed. Man, he knows pretty much he is the world's he's gonna write the Matt Riddle biography. But look, I actually agree with, these people that if Meltzer is going to write an article, he should write in detail what the baggage is. The baggage is that several women, some of them were porn stars, but he was accused of rape, sexual assault by Candy Cartwright, aka Samantha Tavel. Also tell the story of what happened there, what she said occurred, what he said occurred, and then what the outcome was. Because it's over now. It's been over for 2 years. He cheated on his wife. Bad. You're a bad guy, Matt Riddle, for cheating on your wife. He ended up getting a divorce. It ended up being a very ugly divorce, too. It was very nasty, as divorces tend to be. He also impregnated a porn star. He's had sexual relationships with other porn stars that he had no intention on committing to, who then claimed that they were abused. Not physically, of course, but that they were emotionally and intellectually, whatever, abused. And all this stuff was made public, mostly during his time in WWE, with people trying to get him fired. And he did ask the question, Bixen Span did, is when did the shift happen? When did people become virulently anti-Riddle? And I think people are just tired of it, because it's been so much over the course of the last 2 or 3 years that we just reached a breaking point where we just said, we don't care anymore. Let the guy go away. It doesn't matter. It's the same thing with, Velveteen Dream. Whether you believe the main accusation against him or not, when you collectively put everything together, behaviors, attitudes, and you look at what the potential could be, it's not really worth it. So it's best to just cut bait. And that happens a lot too. Sometimes you just get frustrated with hearing the same stuff over and over again, whether you believe it or not. You're just tired of hearing it. You're tired of hearing the people squawk in your ear about something, whether it's true or not. And that's how, that's also how people win. They can spread things that aren't true more enough that you just get tired of hearing it and you want the issue to go away. And sometimes that is literally all it is. It's not that people believe it. It's that, okay, the issue is over. We're done with it. We're going to take it and get rid of it. We look at the potential of what it could be. It's not nearly as much as the trouble it's causing. Let's just get rid of it. Doesn't necessarily mean that anybody cares. You know, there was 3 or 4 porn stars involved in this situation, all crying over Matt Riddle, most of them who dated him, are mostly upset he was either cheating on them or banging other chicks or something like that, or he was mean and inconsiderate. Almost nobody says, oh, Matt Riddle literally beat me up. You know, something that is actually actionable. It's always something that happened in the past. We don't know how long ago it was. Just nebulous accusations of Matt Riddle is not a nice man. He was abusive to me. In what way? Do you have any bruises? Do you have a police report? No. He was abusive to me. Did he chain you up to the radiator inside the house? Did he take all of your money? Did he, what did he do actually? Nothing. It's all just nebulous accusations that really only plays into the people who already don't like him. But even if you I'm not a super fan of Matt Riddle. So yes, this is an annoyance. It's something that you're tired of hearing. I'm tired of hearing about it. So I was glad when he was fired, because I was like, at least these people can get their pound of flesh. Matt Riddle don't matter to me that much. Just get this shit over with. I'm tired of hearing about it. He's not going to jail. These allegations isn't really what brought his career to the ground. What brought his career to the ground was his behavior. His behavior specifically, not what other people said about him, but how he behaved. The ugly divorce, which really was an ugly divorce, and it showed him in a negative light. The divorce did. The apparently repeated drug test failures that he had, which I'm going to imagine if those were true, because nobody said that they weren't true. But mostly his behavior backstage, how he had heat with Goldberg. He's got heat with Brock Lesnar. He's got heat with Seth Rollins. People don't really care to work with him. They don't really care to help him make it through. Randy Orton was the only one who was willing to say, look, I've been where Riddle is. Let me try to help him. And then Randy Orton got hurt. So then we were kind of stuck with Riddle's by himself. And all of this negativity just does not stop. And then it continued with him going to rehab. And then it continued when he got out of rehab, because now he's doing stuff in the airport he ain't got no business doing. So when you look at the totality of everything, you can say that people have just reached their point of, we're tired of this. Just don't want to hear any more about it. The guy's a train wreck. Whether he's a rapist or not, we don't know. We're just going to say, get him out of here. For just the fact that he's a dipshit, get him out of here. All right? The fact that he's, kind of a garbage parent, let's move him to the side for that. Hell, if you want to even just say he's almost 40 years old, and if he's not going to be a superstar right now, it's probably not going to happen. So let's just move him to the side. Look at his potential, look at where he is, look at the baggage he brings. It makes sense to push him to the side. Now, it seems like the bulk of this video, me talking about various people and Dave Meltzer, they forget that Meltzer is a mark just like them. All right. They think Meltzer is some kind of exalted saint, that he's sanctified, that he's blessed or something like that. And he's going to have, the best takes of all time. No, he's not exactly a woke idiot like you, and all of us are going to fall short in some way. Meltzer is not perfect. So people who take everything that he says in The Observer as being perfect is going to be an idiot every single time, because Meltzer is wrong quite often. His takes are wrong quite often. His opinions are off quite often. The point here is people look at Meltzer as if he is, they put him on a pedestal. And that was the problem. The problem isn't Meltzer. The problem is you. You put Meltzer on the pedestal. One of the first things we read here is Matt Coon saying, get your news somewhere else. Basically, we need to create some kind of workers' world magazine for pro wrestlers, where it's all progressivism all the time. And nobody can ever just be honest about what actually happened. What Meltzer wrote was not incorrect. he had multiple relationships with women that ended bad. And you didn't hear about them until he was in a relationship with a different woman. When he was dealing with somebody else, all of a sudden, here comes some crying broad. Oh, Matt Riddle broke the date with me. He was supposed to hang out with me for New Year's Eve. It's like, so what? And then I'm supposed to be the bad guy because I don't give a fuck about OnlyFans models and porn stars that this guy... Look, basketball players, football players, they have groupies, all right? They go through these groupies. And the groupies know it too. The fact that Matt Riddle chose porn stars to be his groupies that he's just going to tear through, I don't care. I care if he's actually committed a rape. I care if he actually beat somebody up. I don't care that he serially dated porn stars and was just banging them and dumping them. Even if he led them to believe that he loved them and then he dipped out on them. Because that's everyday life. You want to avoid that? Get married first. How about that? You don't want to hear that, though. All these porn stars and everybody, oh, Matt Riddle was having sex with Samantha Tavel while he was married. Yeah, bad guy Matt Riddle. He was cheating on his wife. That's terrible. But if Candy Cartwright had waited until she got married to have sex, she wouldn't have been somebody's mistress. How about that? All these porn stars that are crying because Matt Riddle couldn't keep a date. Oh, if you'd have waited until you got married, you wouldn't have this problem. All right? You got caught up with a scumbag individual because you date scumbags, because you have sex casually and professionally, and you did this to yourself. So how about that? How about some personal responsibility? Nobody wants to handle that. Matt Riddle needs to be personally responsible for his own behaviors. That it finally caught up with him and he got fired. So now all these porn stars who need to be responsible for their own behaviors because they're fucking outside of wedlock and fucking professionally, and nobody takes what they say seriously. Nobody takes your emotions into account because this is what you do for a living. You have sex for a living. He used you in the way that you use yourself. He has a low opinion of you because you have a low opinion of yourself. He mistreated you because you mistreat yourself. That doesn't mean Matt Riddle's a good guy, though. He's a scumbag and a sea of scumbags. It is what it is. You wanted him fired, he's fired. But Dave Meltzer is not some sanctified angel who is going to side with you on every single issue. I think he's looking at it from the position that is far more realistic than most people are willing to give him credit for. They just mad that he won't talk about the allegations. But does he really want to take the time to write a 4-page breakdown of the entire situation between him and Candy Cartwright, or the entire situation between him and the various porn stars? No. He took a couple of sentences to recognize that these things were issues, and then he moved on. Okay? People already know this stuff. He doesn't have to relitigate everything. And I'm not going to relitigate everything. Matt Riddle is fired. He deserved it. And now this video proves that he deserved it because he was acting an idiot in public. Dave Meltzer has taken a hit in terms of his readership, who was very progressive. His progressive readership is not happy with him because he doesn't side with them fully in believing that Matt Riddle is a crazy rapist and all this kind of stuff. And instead, he's a fan. So the reason why you were reading the Wrestling Observer newsletter is because Dave Meltzer was a mark just like you. And now you're angry that he's a mark just like you and not some sanctified Saint Dave who's going to step down here and have all the right opinions and say all the right things and hit all the right notes because that's what you want. You're upset that Dave Meltzer wants AEW to hire Matt Riddle. They're not going to. I don't believe they will. I think that Matt Riddle, the potential is not nearly enough to deal with what comes with it. You know, the baggage is too much. It's the right word to use in Meltzer parlance. He's probably going to go back into MMA. Because in MMA, you could do crazy shit and continue to get work. Because skills matter. And I don't know how much his skills has diminished since the last time he was in UFC, but I'm pretty sure people will be willing to do it just for the freak show element, because freak show fighting is a real thing now. So Matt Riddle may find a place in MMA if he does it in pro wrestling. And if he gets back into pro wrestling, so what? You know, it is what it is. You wanted him fired from WWE. You're not going to get him erased off the face of the planet Earth. So that doesn't make sense. And Meltzer took a bit of a a credibility hit here with his readership that he built up to be judgmental and hyper analytical. And now they're turning their judgmental and hyper analytical lens towards him. And Meltzer, I don't think he cares. As long as they keep paying their, what is it, $11.99 or something like that, $12.99. As long as they keep paying it, he don't care. You know, if he loses a bunch of subscribers, he'll probably change his tune real quick. But I think the bulk of his audience don't give a damn, don't care this much about it. You know? So ultimately, everybody's screeching for nothing. Everybody's going to get what they want. WWE fans, they lost Matt Riddle, but they don't seem to care. Matt Riddle lost his job. It matters, but he'll find another one. You know, he's still alive. He's 38 years old or something like that. There's still plenty of things for him to do, plenty of opportunities out there for him. Some people are scared he's going to do porn. So what? I'm not interested in him doing porn. Then you have the Wrestling Observer newsletter, the people who are offended by the Meltzer piece. They're going to find something else to get offended by the time this video is uploaded. They're going to be cranky about something else. And then you got Meltzer himself, who has known to, make a couple of bad takes here and there. They've been upset with him since the CM Punk stuff started. But as long as they keep giving him money, he doesn't care. So let's all just watch and wait for the next one. Like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.
Old non-aggression. Once that lesson sets in, you'll see a session, but you got an affection for no progression.